want my kids to know that they don't have to look afar to see love and kindness, and they don't have to look afar to find inspiration. I want them to see that inspiration can be right there by their side or right there supporting them. And there's so much goodness in this world, despite it being filled with doom scrolling, negativity in the news and social media, which is a cesspit. There's so many amazing human beings, and just because they don't have a microphone on top of a stage in front of billions of people. So my ambition is just to try and highlight as many people and give as much wind to as many people as possible.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sparks of Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Randy Sparks, and I am excited to share a new friend with you today, Mr. James Kellock, the founder of All We Can Foundation, who is on a mission to change the world with kindness and that ripple effect. And something that I heard him say was, when kindness becomes visible, it becomes contagious. So I think that's going to come up, learn about All We Can and how he's changing the world and his own life, and where this came from, why you're doing it, and how we can be part of it. So welcome to the conversation, James.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. And it's nice to be able to talk to you again. So thanks for having me.
Well, we've had a few conversations. In fact, this morning, just before we pressed record, I mean, it already got me into tears just speaking and talking about love and connection, and and so I feel like we've connected deeply. Quickly. We had a conversation in the first one a few weeks ago, and I just knew that there's something meaningful that you are feeling inside, and that has drawn you to have this urgent feeling to do this work of kindness. And so, could you tell us a little bit about All We Can, what it is, what it does, and then we can get into, well, how did it start?
Yeah, sure thing. So in principle, All We Can is a foundation which we are still in the process of setting up. Politics and paperwork and everything is still making it fun, but I'm still running it in the meantime anyway, until it's classified a full charity. But the idea is to track, report, and inspire kindness through an online platform, and that's for the visibility of it. So, as I said, to make kindness visible is the easiest way of creating the contagious behavior. And then we also then will be looking to do grants and large acts of kindness through funding projects like food banks and shelters. And so I have a particular soft spot for a restart center for an orphanage in Kenya, for example. So it'll be worldwide, but there's places that have touched my heart in the past. So that's the principle behind it. But yeah, the platform is there. It's a free platform we've offering out to individuals, communities, schools, businesses to track by simply sharing an act of kindness they've done or witnessed. And the idea would be you should be able to upload an act of kindness in about 30, 40 seconds. And it places a little bit of a marker on the world. And it just shows visibly the impact you've made, and people can go and click on that marker and see the story. And it could be simple things. And I think that's where I really enjoy talking to people like yourself in my hunt to try and find what kindness and gratitude and love and compassion looks like in the corporate world. More and more people are starting to really dig into the word kindness and what that really means. And it's not just spending money. It's not just giving something away. It can be as simple as saying, I see you and I'll make time for you. Because time is one of the most valuable things we have. And how often do we in our daily lives just walk past someone and actually it's just a look of glance or an idea of giving some form of affection towards someone who may be looking like they might be struggling. That's such a huge act of kindness that might one day save a life. So yeah, that's the idea of it.
Interesting. So I love how you said that might one day save a life, a single act of kindness. Now, I often open this podcast by saying, that gratitude doesn't just change lives, but it can save them. I think gratitude and kindness are kind of like intertwined so deeply to me, because we're so interconnected, because kindness begets gratitude, which begets kindness, which begets gratitude. And so I think they just cause And it's this cycle that it's this upward spiral of rising up in frequency and joy and love, and like they spawn all these other things. So what I think is beautiful about All We Can is and maybe describe it to me again how you concisely describe it, but making it visible. And what does making it visible actually look like? So you've shown this to me, or I've looked at your website where we can look, and I'm excited to see how this ripple expands. But people can input an act of kindness that they've seen, noticed, performed, and then that kind of puts a little dot on the map, and you can look at this map, which then tracks this visible spread of kindness, and you can see, like, this is kind of the opposite of watching a virus spread throughout the world.
Yeah.
You're saying, well, what if it was the opposite? What if this was a kindness spread throughout the
Yeah.
world? And see what good that can do on the other front. So make that contagious. Hey there, everyone. Did you know that beyond hosting the Sparks of Gratitude podcast, I am also an estate planning attorney, and I love gratitude, and my law firm is proud to sponsor this video. Since 2010, in my law practice, I have designed and delivered customized peace of mind with sophisticated estate planning made easy. So whether you need foundational estate planning, including revocable trusts, wills, powers of attorney, and healthcare directives, which is what most people need, or you might need advanced strategies such as irrevocable trust for asset protection or advanced estate tax planning, I am here to guide you every step of the way. Because at the end of the day, your peace of mind is my peace of mind. You can visit randallsparks.com and I can get started helping you plan for the future today. Now back to our podcast.
Yeah, and so one of the greatest use cases has been into schools, because I've had the pleasure of, say, having a deep dive into some of these conversations with some highly wonderful, intelligent, and compassionate individuals. And I've been speaking to a neuroscience specialist and researcher, and Jennifer Fraser. She's amazing. And we were talking about actually kindness is a habit that we do actually need to educate. And schools, say, father of 3 kids, so school life and the challenges of adolescence and things like that, and bullying, and the easier access to bullying doesn't just happen now at school. It can follow them home due to mobile devices, and there's no safe place. So the kindness factor is trying to teach that school kids need to learn, more importantly, the habit of kindness. And I met a really lovely lady. So sorry, my ADHD may not go from there to there, but hopefully it will come back round. But I met a lovely lady who was trying to she set up a charity called Every Chapter Now, or Happy Every Chapter. And she was looking at trying to support the challenge around adult illiteracy. So there's 9 million adults in the UK who can't read. And so she said, I'm not going to tackle that problem. If that's 9 million adults, I'm just a small person of my own. What I can do with support and funding is attack the source of the problem, which is supporting getting more access to school books and things like that are better for kids. And that is kind of the lines with the approach I'm looking at, which is trying to support schools and communities as groups. And if you can get groups behind it, and younger groups behind it, and kids behind it, and going, I'm going to learn kindness, then when they've not got someone holding their hand and teaching them, it's something that's embedded, and it becomes their culture, not just a culture around them. And I say, as a sportsman, I was always taught, and as a sports coach, you kind of, this myth, maybe, but I'm going to go with it anyway. It's a good myth that for a skill to become automatic, you have to do it 10,000 times. It's the same with kindness. It's the same as trying to kick a football or a soccer ball in America, or throw an American football, right? It's the same thing. To do it 10,000 times, it becomes embedded in your style. You can do it with your eyes closed. Kindness and empathy and gratitude is exactly the same. We do need to practice these things. And often, because we're so instant in this society, it's only in my opinion necessarily, but like, we're such an instant society, we're shorthanded with our messages, which means we're less likely to say thank you every time. But if you're in person, you would. But if you're texting someone or WhatsApping someone or sending them a quick voicemail, you don't always say thank you or please, or you just get through it. You think, they don't want to hear me. They know I mean thank you, but I won't say it. So I think kids need to start being enhanced that they don't need our lazy lessons that we're giving them now. They need the truth, which is you do need to say thank you. You do need to say please. You do need to say, how can I help you? And mean it.
And noticing those acts of kindness. So I have that's brought up two things for me that related, but kind of from different worlds. Is one, yes, the kindness habit, the gratitude habit. It's a choice. All of it is a choice. Like, am I choosing to engage in noticing or performing an act of kindness or gratitude or expression of appreciation? Right. I have to choose, number one, to notice it. Then number two, to express it or perform it. Right. And so on the gratitude side, I invite people. Initially, it's the noticing. It's like, oh, well, what if I keep a gratitude journal? Then all of a sudden, the habit is training myself to notice things, right? And I think the same thing is with kindness, because you have two sides of this kindness. Recording kindness. It's not just an act of kindness that I have performed, but an act of kindness which I have seen. And so the two things I'm noticing here now, I'm hopefully going to pull both of these together, but um, uh, one is that I think that the world is starving for kindness, but also starving to feel appreciation.
Yep.
Right. And so both of those I think are interrelated, but on both sides. Um, I've seen what happens when somebody receives or gives an act of kindness. I've seen Wayne Dyer express this story. I've heard many other people express this phenomenon that when somebody performs, and there's been studies on this kind of brain science, but when someone performs an act of kindness or receives an act of kindness or compassion or appreciation, the person receiving that receives a positive dose of brain chemicals, right? What they feel. I mean, call it what you feel.
Oxytocin
Chemicals,
and
energy,
endorphins.
frequency, but they get that, their dose, their dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, they get that flood of positive emotions, which endure and last a lot longer than simple, you know, screen dopamine, right? Um, these are lasting doses of positive chemicals. But it's not just the receiver of that; it's also the giver of that act of kindness, appreciation. But the interesting thing, which is what I love about what you're doing, is an unrelated observer of that same act gets the same thing.
Yeah, the witness.
Right. So I am not even a party to this, but I still, if I observe that, get the same positive dose. So the beauty of that is important. Then now I'm going to pull in the second thing that I'd seen, and this is more kind of in the business effectiveness world, which I've looked into. I remember, and this I think is related to kind of building raving fans. Have you ever read the book Raving Fans? But kind of building loyalty in a customer base. But something I learned along the way is that the bar is so low to build loyalty with a customer base because satisfaction is kind of the metric that people look at. But satisfaction's not enough, because how do you build a raving fan? It is so much easier to go above satisfaction because the bar of satisfaction is so low. And you mentioned that sending a text message and stuff, we may not be expressing that appreciation, and people aren't trained to expect that maybe in that type of communication, where if you were in person, you'd say please and thank you and so on. But so much of this communication is electronic or somewhere where we're not giving that type of kindness, appreciation. There was a study that I'd seen somebody talk about. I wish I could cite to this. How embarrassing. Maybe I'm making it up. But anyway, where it analyzed a large sample group of people who used some type of service. And I think the types of service they used were across different things. But the point was using a whole bunch of different types of service providers for something that they needed. And all of them had changed to a different service provider. And they said one of the questions was their satisfaction level with the prior provider that they left. A high percentage, around 80-ish% of them, were satisfied with the prior provider. Well, if the satisfaction rate was so high, why did they leave? Right? So satisfaction is not enough. So how do you get above satisfaction, right? And so I'm trying to connect these two things. And what if in communication somebody just added that appreciation, that expression of gratitude, that which is such a kind act to somebody, is just to show them some expression of gratitude. Like, it is such a low bar to exceed. I don't know what that brings up for you.
That's really interesting. Like, so I can relate to some of that story as well, because I work for a telecommunications company, and the science behind like how we communicated with our customers, there was a lot that went into it, and that there was studies and the way, so certain people relate better and to different accents. So I'm going to mess this up on purpose because some old colleagues might listen to this and I may not be allowed to say it. But anyway, I'll share this, the theory behind it, basically, that if someone was calling in to do a renewal or to leave our service, they would be sent via the auto dial to a certain nation or certain region, because that accent of that person made the person calling in more likely to go, oh yeah, no, oh yeah, I'll definitely stay. Whereas if someone was calling in to make a complaint, they would be diverted to a different region where the accent was of one that you didn't want to have confrontation with. So you didn't want to argue with a certain type of personality accent. So that the company worked out that they kept more complaints down by sending, someone to a maybe a northern accent. People just didn't want to argue with a northern accent, for example. But if you were looking to leave and stuff like that, then you would get sent somewhere else. And if you were looking for just general technical support, they would send you somewhere else, because the person you're talking to on the phone, their tone of their voice and their accent will quite often decipher a high percentage of the mood of that conversation. And so there's a lot of science was into that. So just to relate into your point just there, but I do think a lot of organizations do start at satisfied is the one of the key words that come up, but they never really push past that. I think they talk about it, but there's probably a fear of putting out there that goes, our benchmark publicly is going to be above satisfaction, is a scary place, because if you fall short, then you failed. And that's what you're reporting on. So there's probably a tendency more often than not to go, let's stick with satisfied, because most people will say I'm satisfied. And so they can say they've achieved. But if your organization saying I'm striving for excellence and you fall short of that, and people are then only satisfied, then there's an element you may have just not been successful in your business goals. So there's potentially why most organizations would look at that as a thought. But I do agree. The challenge is for small organizations to go, well, that's a challenge of a big organization. Small organizations go, we can be more personal, right? And that's where had more success is when you have personal relationships with someone. Satisfaction isn't enough for that. You want excellence. You're going to buy off someone you trust. And that happens with small organizations.
Well, I think this comes back too, because you've got experience in that business world and in the coaching world and interacting that way. But when you accepted this calling to dive into not just choosing kindness for yourself to enhance your life and make it better, you said, no, well, maybe describe that. How did this calling come to you?
So I was at my church, and I was kind of, so yes, I'm competitive, very competitive, which has its advantages as well as disadvantages. But and basically we were at a service, and it's just one of those. It was one of those Sundays where I think the time and the message was important. The time of where I was just made redundant from a company, and I was just starting out on a new adventure, and we were talking about the values of what being a Christian is, and simple points of like being kind in the world and putting goodness into the world and showing that that's the key thing of love and being, loving our neighbor. And we would like, so how could you make the world a better place? And so I stewed on that. And then I kind of just woke up one morning with this idea in my head and of trying to sort of maybe do a day of kindness, which backfired. It wasn't the right thought because the feedback was empty. I contacted 30 churches and not one came back. So that was a bit of a Debbie Downer. But I then realized that probably I was going at it the wrong angle, and that was my first attempt on the drawing board. Scrap that, go again. I wasn't going to give up on this. But I had at that process of kind of going, oh, that failed, and so why did it fail, and start to reevaluate it. I kind of thought in a really, really small way, and then very narrow focused way, and then I came across this book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, and it's a bit of a gem of like inspirational nuggets inside a children's book, but it's beautifully written by a guy called Charlie Mackesy, and there was just a phrase in there, and it's something that's probably resonated with me for a really, really long time. But listening to it and reading it, I meant I stopped and stopped making excuses, which was the boy was standing at the end of this woods, and it was dark woods, and this talking to the horse, because obviously in books horses can talk. And said to the horse, like, I can't see where I'm going. And the horse said, well, can you see your next step? And the boy said, yeah. He said, well, just take that one. And then I sat with that and went, if I've got the light and I've got the strength and I've got the ambition and the willpower, I can take one step. And then that one step leads to another. And I've just thought for so long, I thought, what can little old me do in a small little village in the middle of nowhere in England? Like, how can I make an impact wider and more lasting than maybe my mind would allow? And it was just, but just start taking the next step and see where it goes. And, I'm nearly 9 months later and I have no idea who and what impact I've made, except for now the impacts that are starting to hit my platform. But I just want to make the world a better place every single day. And if that's going to be my driver, I just can keep waking up and take that next step. And like you said, waking up and showing myself there's so many things to be grateful for. And hopefully that there's a really beautiful conversation with a lady called Colleen yesterday. And one of the things we were saying is that I want to make sure I'm that person that leaves someone with the wind in their sails after being in my presence or being with me, not the person that takes the wind away. So that's my drive. Because I want my kids to know that they don't have to look afar to see love and kindness, and they don't have to look afar to find inspiration. I want them to see that inspiration can be right there by their side or right there supporting them. And there's so much goodness in this world, despite it being filled with doom scrolling, negativity in the news and social media, which is a cesspit. There's so many amazing human beings. And just because they don't have a microphone on top of a stage in front of billions of people, we need to highlight those things. And so my ambition is just to try and highlight as many people and give as much wind to as many people as possible. In a nutshell.
Just take the next step. James, I think that's, I want to highlight and comment on how much I admire that you've taken that next step. And this is 9 months ago that you say roughly you took the first.
Yeah.
Something I have a conversation with people, and I didn't invent this concept, but I repeat it. That is looking backwards and saying, well, what if I measure backwards, or if I look to my younger self, what gratitude would I share for my younger self? And looking back to the younger James 6, 9 months ago, 2, 3 years ago, but there was a younger James, like, what would you say to him? The one that was sitting in church that day, that woke up the next morning and, stewing on this idea, that took action, that took that next step. Oh, and tripped here, but took the next step and the next step and succeeded there and failed there, but then took the next step. Like, what gratitude would you express for him? And look at where he brought you to where you are now. Like, look how far you've come. Like, it's such a beautiful exercise for me to do or to invite people to do, or when I have a chance to highlight for somebody else and help them walk through that and say, well, look at what you've done. Look how amazing that is. Look at all the steps that you've taken, because every one of them added up to how far you've come. And what if you took the next step? Right? I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. That's like, I don't need to take all 10,000 steps. I just need to take one, the next one. So, I'm gonna get a copy of that book, which I don't have. Remind me the title of that book.
The Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. The Boy, the Mole, the
Mole,
Fox. The Boy,
the boy, the mole, the fox.
Fox, the Horse.
Okay,
I'll send you the link.
So
it's beautiful. But I will also have to send you a link quickly on that. But it's really important to. There's a story that came from the writer, the author, Charlie Mackesy, and it went quite a bit around on LinkedIn. And I think you need to be, to anyone who does listen to this, they need to try and find on YouTube an interview with him where he talks about a book launch. And the guy interviewing him, basically, I won't want to read it too much, it's definitely worth watching, but it's a short clip. And this guy was interviewing saying, look, you're a bestseller for this, and blah, 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 and you made all these copies, blah, blah, blah. Like, what keeps you motivated? Sort of thing. He said, look, I was in this place on this book launch, an hour and a half queue signing these books, and people just were coming through and signing, and then it was the very last person turned up and said, look, what you're here for? He said, you've got a book. He said, no, he said, that's why you're here. He goes, for you. He goes, what do you mean? He said, I'm here because of you. And it dawned on him that the book is what saved this guy's life. It was the book that what hit it. And he said to the guys, like, if I didn't sell any copies except for the one that got to this guy, it was worth it. Because it saved that guy's life. And so that's why we should be doing these things. It shouldn't be about the millions of people. It should be about the one that we do really help. And if you focus on trying to just make sure you help one person, that's when the ripples happen. Because it's to make a splash, the first thing has to hit.
Right. And how big does that pebble need to be to make an impact?
Time. Just seeing someone.
Yeah. So that brings up, I want to make this more about you, but just to put this out there, I was having a conversation with my wife yesterday about feeling some discouragement, even about this podcast of, should I keep doing this? What if I've done it. I've got a whole bunch of beautiful recordings done and it's been amazing and it's enhanced my life and maybe somebody else's. What if I didn't do it anymore? And she helped point out to me that, well, what would you regret more?
Yeah.
Doing it or not doing it. And of course I'm like as I even voiced the thought of what if I stopped doing it, it just felt wrong. But then something became clear in that conversation is all along I've talked about how if the one person that this ripple impacts is myself, that's enough. But she highlighted something else to me that this is a legacy. Like, how much would I love to have something like this to reflect back on from my father or my grandfather or grandmother or great-grandfather, to have a record of their thoughts and progress and meaning. And she says, this is something that your children, Randy, and your grandchildren will always have to know you. And so now I feel like these conversations, I'm having them to share with my legacy. And everybody that's listening, please, I'm so grateful for you. I love you. When you subscribe to this, when you like it, when you share it, it means everything to me. And I hope it impacts somebody. And that's why I love conversations like this with James, because you're spreading that kindness. You're dropping that ripple. Your ripple has hit me and is changing my life and many others. And I'm so grateful for that. And I hope that this does the same thing for my own children, my grandchildren. my great-grandchildren. I hope that this is something that can impact them.
I hope so too.
Enough of making it all about me. So something that I do love, again, I'm going to circle back to the how you're delivering on this mission that you have. And one of the ways that you do that is tracking kindness, and that people can, have measurable, visible results of what they're doing, or what they're seeing. And so I have a question, one kind of motivational and one kind of cynical. Okay.
Okay.
And the cynical question isn't, well, I'll just mention it. So, but to start, when people are recording these acts of kindness, you say you make it easy, visible. It only takes a moment to record. And what counts as an act of kindness?
Well, I think it's really difficult to define that, and then because I think some people are thinking it's so grand and too big, and like I helping put my neighbour's bins out, right? That's an act of kindness. But some people are like, well, that's just every day. But it's the importance is that too often and why it's more about the smaller things rather than the grand things, is because the small things add up, and the small things are easier for people to do. There's some beautiful people, like if you look at a guy called Randall. Do you know Captain Kindman? Do you know Captain Kindman? Yeah, like he's doing it.
Neely.
Yeah. Like what a guy! Like a guy who can wear a red cape and call himself Captain Kindman deserves recognition, right? For the right reasons. He's doing an act of kindness a day as much as he can, proactively going out. And then there was a lady called Francesca Donlan did a day of kindness last year, every single day of the year, and she tracked it. She and he are not going out and doing massive things. They're doing small things. And it could just be like an act of kindness here. It was like, I have very elderly neighbors, just to go and say hi to them so they don't feel lonely. Like that I should be putting on the platform. Because it all adds up. So what the point of it is there's no big, there's no small. If you feel that what you have done has been something that has improved the makeup of someone's day or life, that's an act of kindness.
I mean, what I hear is you're not an arbiter of what counts and what doesn't. You say, here's a platform. We want to encourage an act. If you see one or perform one, put it in there. It counts if they believe it counts.
Correct.
No matter how big, no matter how small.
It's not a judgment society. We're in a world full of judgment, and we're in a society where people fear judgment. This is a non-judgmental platform where if you think it does something and it's made an impact, because it goes back to, it's an act of kindness if it's made you feel good at the same time as you've made someone else feel good. So let's make that third thing, which is the witness, feel good as well. That's your gauge, I suppose. If you've done something, it makes you feel good inside, and it's made them feel good or helped them, there's your act. That's your gauge.
And this programmer recording this and watching the acts like on a map begin to spread. Who can have access to go in and record these acts of kindness? Are they people that subscribe to this program and initiative, or is it anybody can get on there and record an act of kindness?
Anyone can sign up. So it takes, let's say, your name, your email address, and a password. That's it. You signed up. Done. And then after that, you have an account, and it tracks. You can see your impact. There's achievements if you want to get into it. If you're competitive, like I am, we're creating challenges that people can do. So, and we're going to add to that in time. We'll have for example, badges like the city hopper. So we do an act of kindness in 7 different cities or something, or different continents. So we'll do that to trying to add an element of gamification in the world, which is full of it. We'll try and make that and entice it into the world of kindness a bit. But I think the cynical side is one of the things I had to play on in this deliverables. Is what happens if people started using it for vanity purposes rather than for the joy of doing kindness. But I accepted that is a risk I'm worth taking, because if someone's like an influencer gets hold of this and like, look at me for being so kind, and how many markers I've made on the world or whatever, I can't accept that they're still doing kindness. So someone's still experienced an act of kindness, whether they've taken it personally the wrong way or not. Someone's received kindness. More people are now witnessing kindness. And so it spreads anyway. even if the person who's taking it on as a vanity project has taken it for the wrong reasons themselves, still 2 out of the 3 are benefiting. So that was the way up I had around it falling into hands of people who want to do it for the wrong reasons.
And you said that you're expanding this by getting in front of children in schools and having schools adopt initiatives and say, well,
Yeah,
our school's going to adopt an initiative, get our students involved in recording these acts of kindness.
yeah,
And then they can see from a community basis that begin to spread out. Well, and you're in the UK and you're, one-on-one, face-to-face in front of these schools. I'm if people haven't noticed by my accent, I'm not in the UK. Um, I'm in the United States. And well, what if somebody listening to this right now goes to allwecan.co? That's the website, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, we can. Okay, yeah.
Allwecan.co, and you put in your email and you record an act of kindness. Well, now we've got somebody in California and New York and Texas adding to that. So let's contribute and help James. Like,
That'd
let's
be
get
lovely.
this city and continent hopping going and contribute to these recorded, measurable acts of kindness so that we could see it and spread that. That ripple effect is beautiful. This comes up in so many of the conversations that I have is the ripple.
Mm.
There are fewer visuals that, to me, that express this more than the tiny stone tossed into the pond. That act of kindness does. Well, how many ripples are created from that one stone? Not just a single ripple,
No,
but multiple ripples. And the tiny stone creates ripples that expand in such a massive way, right? And they can collide with so many additional people to have an impact. Um, so there's something else that I'm curious about, which is ripple core.
right, yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so that's our so can I just say on the all we can one, just if anyone is going to go and look at it, like when you sign up and you submit an act of kindness, I did speak to someone and said, "But I've done it," and I'm like, "Good." And I said, "What did you see the impact?" Like, hey, there is a kindness map, so I encourage you to explore the map. I encourage you because that's where you can really see the impact. And I have to shout out to Selwood Academy in Frome. They're the school that took it on first, and for the last 3 months they've been really going at it. And like, if you can find Frome in the UK, you'll see the big number. You just have to keep zooming in, and then when you get to basically where to see the map of the school or the outline of the building, you click on the last one. It just goes doom, and it's stunning, absolutely stunning the way the map visualizes the kindness that's coming out of that school. Because and it's I am here local to them, but um I'm hoping to speak to a couple of schools in America, 3 people I've now been speaking to, because I don't need to be present. It's a free platform. And the reason it's free is because we're building Ripple Core. And Ripple Core is the one that's going to cover the costs of everything I'm doing. And Ripple Core is a social value, social impact platform that's designed to, again, with the kindness core thread that's going to go through everything I ever do in corporates. It's designed to do peer-to-peer recognition and kindness. So that's one thing. Kindness from the company, so recognizing what the company might have done to you. But the idea and principle is going to be that it tracks via surveys and well-being and resources to support it. And the kindness side is going to look at the inside culture of an organization, as well as tracking its volunteering and its donations outwards. And if you've seen with volunteering and donations, the feel good factor from volunteering and donating to people and organizations and charities, that makes you feel good. Your company's culture will start being positive, and the surveys and the results from those surveys and the kindness and peer-to-peer recognition, you'll start recognizing more volunteering donations makes that culture better, and that culture is getting better. People want to volunteer and donate more, and then you're in this positive cycle upwards again. And so we're trying to create a platform that covers both in and out of a deliverables of a culture of a business. Yes, for the UK, we've got like ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance, but we're also part of obviously the UN's Sustainability Development Goals, and part of that is like well-being in the workplace. but we need to be able to track donations and volunteering to charities for auditing purposes. So that's what that platform is designed for, in short.
Okay, I kind of shifted from the ripple there, but now how that's going to expand. So your vision is just big. Like what's expanding is your vision for what you're doing instead of from your initial thought, which is, what if I did a day of kindness?
Yeah.
This has grown much bigger than that, what your vision is, and now how to make that vision succeed. I want to recall back to something that you talked about before, was the type of person that you are trying to be, which is the one when you engage with people, when you have an interaction with someone, that the type of person you want to be is the one who leaves them with wind in their sails. Which I think is, I mean, it tells me a lot about your character, and I've felt that in our interactions. So my flip of that question is, who are the people in your life that leave you with the wind in your sails, and that give you the energy to keep doing this?
Well, without a shadow of doubt, my partner is, yeah, she's my rock. She's my guide. She's my teacher. She is a teacher, which helps as well, I guess, of young children in primary school. And then she comes home and continues to have to teach me most of the time. But I have my faith, and that has helped me. But what else will have helped me is because my partner Becky, she saw through the masks that I was wearing. And this is where Jen Fraser comes back in. Like, we were talking about masks people wear and stuff. And like, I was wearing so many different masks growing up. And it starts at a young age, and I'm still working through that elements of trauma. And it touches on another bit, which is, would I be grateful? What would I say? That you asked me a question. I will come back to the question you just asked me, but you asked a question like, what would I say to myself from younger James? And I'd probably go back to the younger James that was finding it really tough. And I would say, it's okay. Because these lessons where you're hating it and finding it hard or find trauma, we don't want to take you out of that. We don't want to protect you from that, because you're gonna be able to deliver because of it. And so I've had to accept that I had tough times, which other people might see was maybe not that tough, but I found it tough. And it's made me who I am today. It's given me the strength, and it's given me the willpower to go after what I want to be and take off those masks. And Becky gives me the ability to take off masks because she sees me as who I am all the time. And now it's just, the exhaustion is going slowly of trying to perform so many different things, so many different people in different settings. Like, there's the corporate salesperson, there's the sports coach, there's the dad, there's the partner, there's the mates, there's the lads and the rugby club, the hockey club, and there's the coach. And now I'm just like, this is me. And yeah.
Do you find a struggle? Because I go through that quite a bit with the masks that I wear, some of them unintentionally, that through my life, to protect myself,
Mm.
I put on a mask, right? So that I'm not hurt emotionally, right? But all of this has just come up from like built-in trauma, whatever it may be, but just through life. I don't believe I'm unique. I think we all have some level of that, where our brain, our ego has two jobs. It's to keep us safe and prove us right. And there's certain interactions that we have that might trigger, well, I need to protect from this so I don't feel that. And different masks come up. Sometimes it's because of the sphere I'm interacting with people. Like you said, I'm the coach, I'm the dad, I'm the attorney, I'm the this. It's like, well, I present myself as this version here and this version here, and people wouldn't accept me if I was that. But now you said something, well, I'm me, right? I've often felt that people wouldn't accept me if they knew this. If they saw the real me, that's why I need to wear this mask, right? I need to be acceptable or presentable or likable or so on. I might not have been aware that that's what I was doing, but I absolutely was. Right. And So what I'm hearing you share is, well, what if I remove the masks and just accept who I am? And if I can love that person with all pieces of that, or maybe Becky, right? She sees and knows all of those in you and loves you completely.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. And something that I uncover. And I think this is one of the most beautiful acts of sincere, unconditional love and kindness is when my partner knows everything underneath all the masks and still loves me.
Mm.
Well, how that contributes to understanding who I really am and the value that I have and what love really means. And so yes, I love your answer of who puts wind in your sails and why. So thank you for sharing that.
No, it's true though, but I think we also need to show gratitude to them, right? And that's that recognition side. That I do thank her and say, in a way, she saved me. 'Cause otherwise, I would have just kept on down the rabbit hole of pretending to be something I wasn't to so many different people, and inevitably, you're just lying to yourself, aren't you? So, which is you're lying to that, which is a terrible way to be.
And this brings up an idea I've been thinking about lately, and I'm curious what you think about it. Is I often think about always becoming a better version of who I am, right? I want to improve, I want to grow, I want to expand. And sometimes I used to imagine what that, if I were to draw a model or kind of create a model of what that looks like, is to replace what I look like now with something that is better. Um, and sometimes some people may think that is, I want to become a better version of myself, which means kill off this part and add that part, or kill off the old version and become the new version. Um, I've adopted a new framework for that, which is all of it is me. So why don't I just expand on who I am instead of kill a part of who I am that I might not like and who I'm ashamed of? I'm like, doesn't it all contribute to become part of the beautiful, new, expanded, stretched version of who I am? And all of it is what makes one beautiful, capable, lovable. Um, it- all of it, and the more that I can love that person, the more capable I am of loving you and him and her. And I don't know if that brings up anything, but you brought it
No,
up
it does.
in me. That's where the thought comes.
No, it did. It definitely. I think it kind of touches on that bit where it's like, I was talking to someone who said that obviously they'd experienced trauma of losses of life and stuff, and in their life, and like if they were to change that and bring those people back, the point that they said is that they wouldn't be the people they are today because it would have put them on their timeline in a different way. That they've learned to deal with that loss and found strength in it to be the person they are today. If you take that loss away, they may not have that guidance and strength and that path to produce who they are. So your methodology there of, or this framework you're talking about of killing off that bit, I'm glad you changed it, because if you're killing off bits that you don't like, then you're taking the bits that guide you and chip you into where you are today. So I say to my middle child who is struggling with the filthy 13s age group sort of emotion and hormones and stuff like that. And I try to explain to him that I'm never angry at him, or I'm not going to be disappointed at him. But if I feel he's falling off the track, I'm just going to chip him back in. I don't want him to not, because if he doesn't test boundaries, if he doesn't try new things and fail, then he's like a brand new elastic band. If you just go with a brand new elastic band, it'll snap. If you go on the elastic band and you stretch it a little bit every single day, its durability will go and it'll be stronger and stronger and stronger. And then at least you can pull it. But if I pulled it elastic band, I've done that to for 10 days to here, it would stay. But if I did it on the first day and went there, it would snap. We have to be pushing these things. And a diamond is made under pressure and it is perfectly imperfect. Like anything that's totally perfect is man-made, and that's not as good. So The bits you want to kill off, that's the bit your wife loves. So why would you get rid of it?
Wow. I just want to sit in that for a minute. That's so beautiful. Well, I'm so grateful for the time, James, and I think this is the first of many wonderful conversations that we have. I want to leave the last word to you, of course, before we jump off. Is if you could invite our audience and give them one invitation, what would that be?
If we stand still at the face of a problem, then our silence becomes the echo. This is probably how I would leave that. Just don't be silent.
Let's leave it at that. James, thank you so much for your time, for your goodness, for listening to the call, and for taking the next step. And until next time, everybody, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.